right? So start writing this down. Preferably a new piece of paper. Okay. So we'll be learning about two measurement systems. The metric is called SI, or Système International, right? It's a French, it was developed by the French and adopted by most of the world except for the US, right? So if you go to the States, which might be in a long time from now, everything is posted in miles per hour instead of kilometers per hour. That's like the biggest difference. Carter, you're here. Okay, start writing down. All right. So we're first going to talk about the metric system, and then we're going to do the imperial, which is the other one, right? To convert within the SI or the metric, we use the following. And I'm just first going to talk about it so that it sticks, okay? King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. Right? That's what helps me remember these prefixes, right? So King Henry died. And what is that capital B? That's the base unit, okay? And we'll talk about that. I call that base, right? By drinking chocolate milk, okay? So the metric system is very convenient to convert because it just, right? It just the prefixes stay the same, and it's a base 10 model. So if you go to one or the other, it's either multiplying by 10 or dividing by 10 every time you go from one to the other. Not so for the imperial system. Okay, so here it is. right? So meter is the base unit for length. Liter is the base unit for capacity, or how much something can hold, right? Like a cooler or any container, like a Rubbermaid container, anything like that will always have the capacity in liters, right? A cooler, you name it, or milliliters, right? And so that tells you how much it can hold. And gram is the base unit for weight. So there's the meter, liter, and gram. Okay, so you could convert a meter to a decimeter, centimeter, millimeter, right? If you go to the right, or decameter, hectometer, kilometer. Same with the other ones, grams, right? You could go decigram, centigram, milligram, and you could go decagram, hectogram, kilogram, right? Same with the liter. Everything works the same way if you're using the prefixes, right? So, and I'm not going to write them all in because I know that if you're in science, you're going to do this anyways. You probably have more prefixes than just these, but we stick to these prefixes, okay? It goes even smaller, right? There are more, but we're going to stick to that. Simply shift, right? This is important. You shift the decimal to the right or left when converting. Okay, that's important here, this one. We're going to do a few conversions here. All right. So let's convert these two here, right? So let's say you want to go from kilometer to meter, right? So this tells you the K, right, tells you that you are here and you want to go to meter. So you just count 1 prefix, 2 prefixes, 3 to get to meter, right? So you're going 3 spots right. And to go from here, from kilometer to meter, you're going 3 spots to the right. So you're going to shift that decimal 3 spots over. So let's copy this down, 3, 5, 2, right? And then perhaps using a different color. I know this, some of you, this is review. So that goes from there to here. So 1, 2, 3. You put the decimal right there. Okay, 3 spots to right. And then you fill in any gaps with zeros. So the decimals can just stay there, right? Like even if you do your calculator, if I type in 3,520, there's always a decimal at the end, right? So you can leave it there or you can just not put it there. It's up to you. But it's 3,520 meters in that many kilometers, okay? What if you have 3,517 centimeters and you're wanting to go to meters? So you're going from centimeters to meters. So you start where it says centi, right? Centimeters here. And you're going 1, 2 spots to the left. 2 spots left. Okay? So the decimal, you copy that, 3517. The decimal is technically here. And you're going to go 1, 2 over and place it there right now. So it's 35.17 meters, right? So maybe you put an arrowhead on the at the very end so you know which direction this thing goes, right? It went 2 this way. Why? Because this chart told me so. So if you need to add this to your study sheet, do that, right? A small version of this just to help you out. Let's do a couple more. There's C and D. Give those a try. You go ahead and convert them right now. Just to see, are you on board? Are you checking? Are you making sure that works out? See how we did? Hectometers to kilometers. Got to go right hectometers to kilometers. So you're going here, you're starting there, you're going one to the left. One spot left, meaning that this will go over here. So that's 31.57 kilometers. Okay. You're going from millimeters to kilometers here. All right, so let's go up and use our chart again. So from here, you start there. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 spots left. And how do you know left or right? Well, you start with a number you're given, go find the prefix, and then move towards the one you want to convert to. So the decimal is here, so we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's 2.55 kilometers if you round to 2 decimals, right? Because if you put the decimal there, here, sorry, that's 5.5 because the 7 bumps that 4 to a 5. If you use all decimals, no big deal, right? It's actually probably better to do it that way. But most of our final answers are rounded to 2 decimals. These are just important facts, and I would just say study sheet here. Okay, so this is a study sheet entry. Just knowing 1 kilometer is 1,000, 1 meter is 100 centimeters, and 1 centimeter has 10 millimeters. Like if you know those basic ones, even in life you'll be fine, right? Always remembering the King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk is if you really need to convert between those 7, right? It'll help you. Okay. All right. Next page. Good. Make sure at home you're writing stuff down, okay? Now we're going to talk about the imperial system. And it's a little trickier, right? They don't have a base unit. They don't. So the imperial system is based on, right? You have inch, foot, yard, mile, and so forth for length. Those are the most common ones. And then you have your gallon, your fluid ounce. So that's another confusing, right? There's fluid ounces and then there's just ounce for weight, right? You can see here. So just to make it even more confusing, right? You've got your cup, your pint, and that's all for capacity. And metric, we would just say, hey, liters, right? And then you could just add a prefix if you want smaller units. And for weight, you have your pound. That one I think most of us are familiar with. Ounce. And those are the most common ones you're going to need here. And they use a lot of fractions in the imperial system. Right? Quarter of an inch. It's like anything less than an inch, they use fractions, right? So we're going to have to deal with that as well. We still use the imperial system quite a bit, right? We use, most of us will know our weight in pounds, not necessarily in kilograms. A lot of us will use our height, right? They will use feet and inches, right? Most of us do. And so, but then again, your driver's license will have it in metric system, right? And or do they have both? I don't even know if they change it to both. I have to check myself. No, it's in the metric system. It's in centimeters. Okay. So, but we're still using the Imperial System quite a bit. I don't know if you've ever heard of a gallon. You want to go get a gallon of paint? A gallon of paint is really like these cans, like the tin can that you buy to paint your room. That's a gallon. Okay. A gallon of milk. When you buy those milk jugs, that's a gallon, almost exactly a gallon in there, which is 3.78 liters, right? And so forth. A pint, right? A pint you might not have heard of a lot, but if you order a beer in some pubs or whatever, a pint is just a big glass of beer, right? That's a pint. So it's still being used, right? A cup, when you're baking, right? You do cups a lot, right? And so it's still being used quite a bit. And once you get used to a measuring system, it's hard to move away from it, right? Okay. Important conversions. There are more on the study sheet, right? Sorry, I meant to say formula sheet. Okay. Convert the following. So we're going to do some conversions here. And just to give you a reference, I'm just going to show you one quickly here, okay? The bottom left corner of your formula sheet has the imperial conversions, right? So 1 foot is 12 inches, 1 yard, 3 feet. 1 mile has that, right? So we'll do some solving here. Have a calculator ready. Okay, so there are a number of ways of doing this. I think I will do the proportional reasoning method. Okay, so pay close attention here. You can't just use the King Henry chart, right, to move from one. So we're going to go from feet to inches. Sometimes it's as simple as just doing it in one step. Like if you know something that relates feet and inches, this is going to be a one-step scenario, and you do know that, right? 1 foot has 12 inches. So you go 1 foot over 12 inches is equal to, you have 38 feet, so make sure feet line up, right? They're right across each other, and this will be your unknown. So that way you know exactly what you need to do, right? You need to multiply this and divide it by what's left over. So it's 12 times 38 divided by 1. Okay? And that's 456 inches. And so we just say that that's what it is, and then you plug it in there. And so you've now converted 38 feet to inches. Okay? So we're going to do a bunch of one-step scenarios, and then we're going to do two-step. Okay? So I will do this one, and then I will do C, and I will let you do B and D. Okay? We want 6 feet 5 inches to inches. Okay? So we will convert 6 feet to inches, then add 5 inches to answer. That's what we're going to do. And most of you will know that you'll have to multiply by 12, right? But you could say 1 foot has 12 inches. Therefore, 6 feet has X number of inches. And so that will be 6 times 12, right? 6 times 12 divided by 1. X is 72 inches. Okay? So then we're going to go 72 plus the 5 inches that we need to add to the 72 you got here. And that's 77 inches. And that's what goes in here. And now you go ahead and do B and D based on what we've just done. They're almost, they require you to use the same steps that I've just used. So try B and D and see what you get. let's correct this. So yards to miles. Let's see if we have something that gets us there. Notice that 1 mile is 1760 yards, but it's the same thing as 5,280 feet. You can't see that, but these two are the same. These two are the same, right? So do we have something between miles and yards? We do. So you go 1 mile has 1760 yards, and you have yards, so you'll have to put that number down here. You can't always put it up here because in this case you don't know what the miles would be for this many yards. So in this case you cross multiply here and you divide there. So it's 3250 times 1 divided by 1760. And that's 1.85 miles to round to 2 decimals. Okay. Now you have 5 yards, 3 feet, and 7 inches, and you want all of this in inches. So we're going to convert this to inches, and then this to inches, and then add all of these up at the end to get our answer. Okay. Now let's go up here once, and I forgot to add that. If 1 yard has 3 feet, right, and 1 foot has 12 inches, then this should be the equivalent of 36 inches here. Okay, so you could also say that 1 yard has 36 inches, just like that. Okay, so let's convert that. We know that 1 yard has 36 inches. So 5 yards is going to be X number of inches, so you multiply here. 5 times 36 divided by 1. It's 180 inches, right? And then you're going to convert the feet to inches. That's something that I would expect you to know already. You just have to multiply that by 12. So 3 feet times 12, that's 36 inches. So you kind of underline this, you underline that. So if you were to add up all these 3 numbers here, that's what you would have in total in inches. Okay, so total would be 180 plus 36 plus 7. And that's 223 inches. So that's what we're going to put in there, 223 inches. So a little trickier, but it just requires more conversions, right? And there you have it. Yeah. Let's keep going. We're going to have to deal with the fractions here. The imperial system is often given in fractions. If you need to add, subtract, multiply, or divide various measurements, you need to turn them into decimals. All right, so then we'll write down a couple and deal with those fractions. Some of them are fairly simple. Others you have to use your calculator for. Fractions are quite common in the imperial system. So you'll have 3 and 7/8, right? 2 and 9/16, and so forth. So remember, you can always have your study sheet on this, and you can have your formula sheet on this. But your study sheet probably will have more conversions than your formula sheet. So if you write them down, if you transfer them over, you'll be well prepared and be able to do it quicker, right? Okay, so here we're going from inches to inches, right? So you're not really converting from one measurement to another, from one unit to another. It's just inches. I just want you to convert that into a decimal. So what you do is you go 7 divided by 8, that's 0.875, okay? So this would then be 3.875. So you basically converted that by going 7 divided by 8 to get this portion here. So they're saying the exact same thing. They're referring to the exact same measurement, but, right, this is as a decimal. And we're going to want to do that when we're having to add or subtract or multiply them. If you want to find the area, you want to write it like this, okay? Or even when you're converting, right, which you'll see next here. 4.5 feet to inches. So you are going from feet to inches. So, right, 1 foot has 12 inches. We know that. How would you write this down? Well, it needs to be as a decimal. In this case, it's fairly simple, 4.5 feet like that. And you convert it. So 4.5 times 12 divided by 1. Right, you get, oops. Right, you get 54 inches. Let's do a couple more. By the way, maybe on the side, on the margin, 1 little tick is equal to feet, 2 ticks is equal to inches, right? And if you tend to forget things like that, write it on your study sheet, okay? So I want you to convert the following, right? 6 1/4 inch to feet, 7 3/8 inch, or 7 3/8 inches to feet as well. So do that for both of these. You're gonna have to turn them into decimals and then convert using ratios. So go ahead and do that now. Here we go, 6/4 of an inch to feet. If you're pretty quick with your conversions, right, it's 6 1/4 like this. And it's 1 foot, has 12 inches in this case. Therefore, 6.25 inches would go down here, and you have the unknown there. So you'd multiply that way and go down that way. 6.25 times 1 divided by 12. And you get 0.52 of a foot. And that's fine when calculating. 7 3/8 inches to feet. If you go 3 divided by 8, you get 0.375. Right? So this would actually be 7.375. Right? So 7.375 of an inch. And now you can convert that, right? 1 foot has 12 inches. 7.375 inch would be X number of. If you set it up like this and then go give me the answer, I'm fine with that. Okay? But set it up at least 0.61 of a foot. And we're going to use that for calculations later on. So this will be necessary to be able to convert, right, to a decimal and then work with it. Okay? And here's the, so what we've been doing right now, to recap, we stayed within the imperial system. Okay, all of this, we stayed within the imperial system. The metric, we stayed within the metric, but now we're going to convert between Si and imperial. So we're going to go from one to the other. Okay, so write that part down. Often you'll be given measurements in one system, then required to convert into another in order to answer a question. Okay? So we're going to convert the following. Let's write down, I have 4 there that we're going to convert. Go ahead and write that down. And I will, I think I added them to this booklet at one point. Yeah. I didn't give you the conversion rates here. They are on your formula sheet. But why don't we just add them just in case, right? I will add them over here, and I don't have a lot of space. So 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. That's one of them. 1 foot has 0.3048 of a meter. 1 yard is equal to 0.9144 of a meter. And 1 mile is 1.609 kilometers. And I'm going to box this in, and then you know what that means, right? Study sheet. So these four are going to help you convert from one to the other. Notice, right, like you have inches, that is the imperial system, and you've got centimeters, which is the metric, right? Yards is imperial, meters is metric. Feet, imperial, meters is metric. Miles, kilometers, right? So these actually convert between, okay? So they're also found here. So if I just for a minute interrupt that, and they're found in this section here as well, on your formula sheet. So the imperial is here, and converting between is here. There's no King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk on this, okay? So that's on you. And so here we go. Convert the following. Right? We're going from feet to meters. Let's go look if we have one that does that relates feet and meters. And you do have it right up here. 1 foot is 0.3048 meters. And you use all of the decimals that I give you, okay? So 1 foot has this many meters. On the other side, which one are they giving you? They're giving you feet. So 6 feet goes here. This is your unknown, meaning that you're going to have to multiply here and divide by 1. 6 times 0.3048 divided by 1. And that is 1.83 if you round, okay? It's 0.8288. That's 1.83 meters. So the steps are exactly the same. It's just the ratios. You need to go and get them from a different part. We're going from yards to meters. Do we have anything that relates yards and meters? Yes, we do, right here. So 1 yard has 0.9144 meters. Because if you look, 1 yard is 3 feet as well, but that wouldn't help you in this case. So you go 7.4 yards is this many meters. And that's 6.77. Write it down here, okay? These were both done in one step, okay? Now it's going to get a little trickier. Going from miles to meters. Do you have anything that relates miles and meters? You look, miles and meters, there's a mile here, but there's no meter here. It doesn't matter, use this one to get you to kilometers, and then you can convert kilometers to meters. Okay, so 7.25 mile, right? We're going to convert that to kilometers, and then we're going to go to meters. And I'm going to run out of space here a little bit. So 1 mile has 1.609 kilometers. Okay. Let's rewrite this. Let's say that 1 mile has, how can we convert this to meters quite easily? I'm going to go here in the notes I just gave you. Here. This is an easy conversion to make, right, King Henry? We're going to go from kilometers, right, to meters here, the base. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. We're going to shift that decimal 3 places to the right. So it's going to go 1, 2, 3 here. So it's going to be 1,609 meters. Right? So we take the one that we were given and just rewrite it here. And this, we can use this one to convert our miles into meters. Okay, so you cross multiply and divide here. 7.25 times 1,609 meters. And that is 11,665.25 meters. So 11,665.25 meters. So we just had to do a quick rewriting of the ratio that you were given, and then you could cross multiply and divide like that. If you want to write this down on your study sheet, that 1 mile is 1,609 meters, go for it, right? Then it's easy, then you don't have to worry about this step here. Last one here, and then we'll be done for today, okay? Meters to feet, do we have one that relates it? Yeah, right here. So you put down 1 foot is equal to 3048 meters. And so we want to know how many feet that would be. Okay, you line up meters with meters. You cross multiply and you divide. That's 8,103.67 feet. Okay. All right, so I'm going to stop there.